This is my 1934 Singer model 9913. This is an electric machine in a bentwood case. This is the original case. This machine is powered by a knee bar. I'm using actually my work cabinet to put this machine on, but you can see the knee bar right there. And the knee bar is usually stored in the lid. There are a couple of little holders in there. Then the knee bar fits in there. And when you're looking at these machines to buy, you should always make sure that you find the knee bar in the lid, if not in the machine. It's a beautiful machine. It's, like I said, from 1934. It has the filigree decal pattern. Now, this machine belonged to my grandmother. And the story with this machine is that when my grandmother and grandfather had my mother as a child, they hired a seamstress to make my mother's baby clothes. My mother had beautiful organdy dresses and outfits, and they were made with this sewing machine. When the seamstress passed away many years later, her family decided to give her sewing machine to my grandmother. And my grandmother was always thrilled because she had the actual machine that had made my mother's baby clothes. And my grandmother used this machine up into her 80s. She lived to be, I believe she was 91 or 92 when she passed away. In her late 80s, she decided it was finally time to give me the machine, because I had been asking for it for a few years. And she used it all the time and took wonderful care of it. The only thing it needed when I received it was a new power cord. It's an electric 3/4 size machine, the 99s, model 99s are. And it has an external motor with a belt. And there's the plug area right there. And it has a bobbin winder that is very similar to the bobbin winder on my 1591 machine. This machine has very little wear to the bed, very nice decals, and it's really a simple machine to use, and just very, it sews a very fine stitch. It has a stitch regulator for stitch length, but it does not have reverse. It is a side clamping Singer needle bar, so it will take many of the side clamping attachments that you can find for the vintage machines. I'm going to show you how to wind a bobbin, and I will show you how this sews on a piece of quilted material I have. This has a horizontal slide plate. That's the bobbin case. It has a button that you push, and a lever will pop the bobbin out. This takes a Class 66 drop-in bobbin, and from my other videos you might know that they are slightly curved on the top. They are different from the Class 15 bobbins, so you want to make sure you have the right bobbin for the right machine. The bobbin will, I took that one out of the case, but I'm going to wind this one, which is empty. This is the bobbin winder, which engages with the hand wheel. And you can see right here, there's a little pin that sticks out from that brass fitting. And you can also see one of the holes is smaller. That hole should go on that pin to hold the bobbin in place like that. So the bobbin is on the machine. You can push the shoe forward, or you can push the arm down, or just go like that, and that now means the bobbin winder is engaged against the hand wheel. Now, before you start to wind the bobbin, you have to disengage the needle, and to do that, you loosen the clutch wheel by turning it toward you. Now, when I'm doing this on a non-electric machine and I have a spoked hand wheel, I can usually do it with one hand because I'm leaning against the spokes, but I may have to just put the camera down for a second to get this loosened. It's not that difficult, it's just that it's difficult with one hand. Okay, so I have loosened the hand wheel, the clutch wheel, and you can tell it's loose, and I turned it toward me, toward the front. You always turn the larger hand wheel towards you on Singer machines. So now, when I press the knee bar with my knee and run the machine, it will be winding the bobbin and not moving the needle. I have a spool of thread on the top. The thread guide is at the front on the top on the left that you bring the thread to. Then you come over here and the thread goes from the inside to the outside on the bobbin, through the bobbin, and through the two thread guides that are right here. And then the bobbin thread is a little bit loose right now, but what I'm going to be doing is holding this thread with my left hand until the bobbin gets going. Now I'm going to engage the knee bar just by pushing it to the right. And you can see that the thread has started to wind on the bobbin. And what I'm going to do is grab a pair of scissors and trim this left thread off. The scissors are behind me. Because you don't want that to get tangled up with the bobbin as it winds. Now that bobbin is almost full, and you can tell that it's winding very tightly and with even tension. And that's what's important when you're winding a bobbin. If the thread is loose or it winds unevenly, then usually what happens is it doesn't, the upper thread from the machine can't pick it up correctly with even tension. So then you pop the bobbin back off of there, and you come over here, and when you drop the bobbin back in, you want the thread coming from the left like that. You drop the bobbin in. There is a groove right here that you can see, a little notch. You put that through there and it'll fall into another notch. That's the needle thread getting in the way. And then you close the slide plate with the bobbin thread in that larger notch, like that. And then what I do is generally use a small piece of fabric to have the machine pick up the bobbin thread. But before we do that, I have to retighten the clutch wheel to re-engage the needle. And that I can do with one hand. You just turn it to the back. You want to make sure it's tight. On the 1591, I had it slip, the motor slip, because I didn't have this tight enough, so you want to make sure that it's tight. And then to thread this machine, this is very easy to thread. You have the thread coming through that top thread guide, and you can see the tension discs right there. You go in between those two large discs and up through the spring that is above them. You really just pull the thread up and it clicks into the spring, but you can't have the spool moving. So let me put my arm on the spool to keep it from moving, and you can see Okay, so it has gone into that spring, and then you go under the bar. That's right to the left of it. Oh, it didn't go into the spring. You go under the bar like that. So you're going over this spring, under the bar, and at this point you can move the thread guide for the needle bar up, and you're going to go through that top thread guide with the thread. There is a thread guide on the faceplate, and there's another thread guide just above the needle right here. And as with the other machines, the side that the bottom thread guide is on is a good indicator of which way the machine threads. This is on the left-hand side of the needle, and the needle threads from left to right. You also have to make sure you have your needle in correctly. The needles have a rounded side and a flat side, and the flat side of the needle has to sit correctly in the needle holder. So you want to check that when you're sewing. So there's my machine is rethreaded. The clutch wheel is tightened. I've got it through this tension correctly. And now what I'll do is get a piece of scrap fabric to pick up the bobbin thread. And there are my two little squares, little quilting squares, scrap pieces of fabric. And again, with the needle bar, with the knee bar, all you do is press against it to the right with your knee to have the machine run. And I'm going to have the machine pick up the bobbin thread. I just do a couple of stitches. Lift the needle up to its highest position and pull this out from the back, and you can see that the bobbin thread has been picked up, that the needle thread is correct, and now you can go ahead and sew on this machine. Now I have a little piece of quilted fabric that I was quilting by hand, but this little machine, I call it a little machine. It's a strong, all of the older singers are strong, durable, powerful machines. This being a smaller size, it's really just such a pleasure to sew with. And I didn't pull the upper thread back far enough, so let me just rethread that again. Okay, here we go. And as I said earlier, this machine does not have reverse, so you have to turn it. If I were going to turn it all the way around and go backwards now, I would. I should have left the needle down into the fabric. And that's why you should leave the needle down into the fabric, because your loose thread will get caught on what you're doing. It's been interesting to learn how to do these things with one hand as I hold the camera with the other hand. And then to backstitch, and I don't know why that's bunching up, the thread got caught in something. To backstitch, you just turn it all the way around and go backwards. Yes, the thread got caught on the needle. But you have an idea. There we go. And obviously, if I were seriously quilting this piece, I would be doing it with two hands and without holding a camera. But the machine itself is a wonderful little machine to use. My grandmother took such good care of it. Regular maintenance. In fact, she didn't do it herself. She probably could have done all of the maintenance herself, but she used to take it in to be serviced every once in a while. So, I mean, a wonderful little machine. The Singer model 9913, and this one is from 1934.